Hello, welcome to Channel 9 News. My name is Justin Feltz.
And I'm Brianna Burton.
Today we'll be discussing what happened in the Cold War in American society during the Cold War.
In addition to the post-war aims of America and the Soviet Union.
Although the differences were put aside, the Soviets and Americans have two very different post-war aims. Americans' objectives included protecting the idea of the American dream that's present in the novella of Mice and Men, and also share the elements of a democratic life in the world with liberty, equality, and representative government. The American dream is also...
President Truman gives the nation the basis for the foreign aid program he has sent to Congress. Here is his analysis of the problem.
These are its three interrelated parts. First, direct military assistance, which is the biggest part right now. Second, the contributions we make to support the defense efforts of other nations. And third, our program of economic and technical assistance. This is not a program to carry the world on our shoulders. It is a program to make it possible for the world to stand on its own feet. The cost of the entire mutual security program I have recommended is less than 2.5% of our national output. And this country is raising its output by something like 5% a year. We can afford this program. No, the real threat to our security isn't the danger of bankruptcy. It is the danger of communist aggression. If communism is allowed to absorb the free nations one by one, then we would be isolated from our sources of supply and detached from our friends. Then we would have to take defense measures that might really bankrupt our economy and change our way of life so that we couldn't recognize it as American any longer. That's the very thing we're trying to keep from happening. The program I recommended to the Congress today is a necessity if we're going to block the plans of the Soviet rulers to dominate the world. Make no mistake about it. This is the way we can strike the hardest blows against Russian communism.
37 persons die in one of France's worst air crashes. Shortly after its takeoff from Nice, bound for Paris, the plane is believed to have run into a flock of migratory birds. Two of its motors failed, and the transport crashed into an olive grove on the outskirts of the Riviera city. Prominent among the American victims was one of this country's leading ballet dancers. The sunny skies of France's famed resort land yield a sudden tragic harvest of death. The Coast Guard cutter Courier adds its voice to those of the world's free people. In Washington, President Truman comes aboard to inaugurate the vessel in its new function, equipped with powerful radio transmitters.
Now for a short commercial.
Hi. Do you ever just come home from a really long, hard day at work and you just need your thirst quenched? We'll get your bottle of Pepsi. For 5 cents at your local grocery store, you can have all your thirst quenches and needs satisfied. Right. Now we send it to our sports section, where Big Blue Barney Barcho will talk about what happens in sports and stuff.
A huge event is going on in the world right now. That event is the 1952 Summer Olympics. Many are gathering from all over the world to support their countries in Helsinki, Finland. This event is containing 19 sports with many different events. People from all over come to this event that happens every 4 years to support the people of their country. Many will come away from this event with either gold, silver, or bronze. Many will also not be so fortunate.
We now send it down to Wanda B. Flanders in the field, who's going to talk about the Truman Doctrine and the Marshall Plan, and also the effects it had on the United States.
The Truman Doctrine. Truman had the chance to apply the new policy containment, which is a policy that is intended to prevent communist power from expanding beyond its geographical boundaries. The U.S. was informed by Great Britain that it could no longer provide economic and military aid to Greece and Turkey. Truman knew that there was a chance that the two nations could embrace communist strategies to ease economic troubles. Truman was determined to enlist Republicans in his foreign policy initiatives. Vandenberg was the ranking Republican, and he told Truman to assist Greece and Turkey if he wants his program passed. Truman warned the U.S. about the threat to national security by Soviet influence. The Truman Doctrine was called in a statement to Congress. The United States helped establish the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. This is an alliance of the European nations, including the United States and Canada, that pledged mutual assistance in the event of an attack. The 12 nations that will be included in this alliance include Belgium, Britain, Canada, Denmark, France, Italy, Iceland, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, and the United States. The U.S. will now be involved in the European affairs. Recently, Chinese nationalists lost control of their country to Mao Zedong. Due to the support from the U.S., Chiang was unable to stop Mao Zedong from taking over control of China. Chiang was forced to retreat to the island of Taiwan. The loss of China will become in the minds of many Americans a stain on the record of the Truman administration. The Marshall Plan. George C. Marshall knew that we needed a program for economic recovery from the war. He announced the Marshall Plan in a speech at Harvard University. The Marshall Plan called for the nations of Europe as well as the Soviet Union to draw up a program for economic recovery from the war. The Soviet Union did not participate, and the U.S. supported it with financial aid. The Marshall Plan has recently been approved and is now called the European Recovery Program. Over $13 billion in aid has been sent just by the U.S. alone to Europe. Europe quickly became healthy again. Due to how helpful the United States has been, they will be rewarded with a strong trading partners in the region of the world.
We'll be right back after the messages from our sponsors.
Oh, here, do you need a Band-Aid?
Yeah, what type of Band-Aid?
The Super Sticky Band-Aid. You can get it for a box for 10 cents.
Thank you.
Next, we'll be hearing from Cosmo Lee Smith about the Korean War, Vietnam War, and the Cold War. Political struggles in the countries Korea, Vietnam, Iran, and Cuba are becoming vital issues of the national security when viewed through the lens of the Cold War. Korea, which has been occupied by Japan for decades, hopes for its independence once the Japanese is finally defeated. But North and South Korea are hoping to unify the country both on their own terms. The North Korean army moved across the 38th parallel, intending to bring about this unification. The United States went to the UN Security Council. General Douglas has planned a bold strategy to drive the North Koreans out of South Korea. The Korean War has caused enormous frustration at home. Many soldiers have been killed and wounded for such limited result. The war is also leading to an even larger defense budget. Vietnam, one part of Indochina, now sought independence in a struggle led by Ho Chi Minh. Although Ho was sympathetic to the principles of communism, he's really more of a Vietnamese nationalist than a Soviet sympathizer. An ugly war is unfolding and attracting the attention of American officials. The United States needs the assistance of France for its policy of containment in Europe. In the battle happening now for the Vietnamese independence, he is using the American Revolutionary War as his model for independence. While Ho Chi Minh does not have close ties with the Soviet Union, he is still dedicating the ideals of Karl Marx, and Americans are persuaded that communism is the same everywhere and has to be resisted wherever it is surfaced. The United States is providing military aid to the South Vietnamese government. The Middle East has a strategic importance because of its large supplies of oil. The Cold War is affecting the United States policy in Latin America. The American troops have invaded Honduras to prop up leaders who supported United States interests. The Central Intelligence Agency helped to overthrow Jacob Arbenz Guzman, a reform-minded leader. A crisis is occurring as a revolutionary leader, Fidel Castro, overthrew a long-standing dictatorial regime in Cuba. Although some Americans are recognizing the need for social reform in Latin America, others are more short-sighted. Cuba is turning to the Soviet Union for economic and military support. Recently, a volcano erupted in Papua New Guinea. The Lamington volcano erupted in 2,942 people were killed and dozens of villages have been destroyed. This is the greatest natural disaster that has occurred on Australian territory.
For our final story of the evening, we sent it down to Uncle Archibald. He's going to talk about the Truman Loyalty Program, the spy cases that inflamed the nation, and the McCarthy era.
Several spy cases at the start of the Cold War is what helped fuel suspicion of a communist conspiracy in the United States. Currently being investigated, Elgar Hiss, who is a high-ranking State Department official before he left government service. Hiss is being accused by Wicker Chambers, who is a popular Times Magazine writer, accusing Hiss of being communist. Hiss is most likely to deny the charge and sue Chambers for libel. Hiss is being labeled as a Soviet spy, and after 2 trials, he is soon to be convicted of perjury and, if accused, will be executed in the electric chair. McCarthy era. Joseph R. McCarthy is a Republican senator from Wisconsin that is to take the anti-communist crusade even further. He will most likely use the skills of media and willingness to make execution to land himself higher up in the chair. McCarthy is considered as the leader in the fight against communism in the United States. He is creating ways to prove the good wrong and is being supported by doing this because of a new Truman Loyalty Program that is planning the communist threat into home.
Udis Ballin, the United States to you. Norman Armitage, veteran New York fencer, carries the stars and stripes as the crowd of 70,000 lets out a welcoming roar. On the scoreboard behind the marching delegations is the Olympic motto, Citius Altius Fortius, faster, higher, stronger. The contestants march once around the stadium and then mass on the field before the Tribune of Honor. Now out of the past come the flying feet of Paavo Nurmi, Finland's 6-time winner of Olympic titles, bearing the torch that will light the Olympic flame. The torch has been carried northward across the face of Europe by relays of athletes, starting from Olympia in Greece, home of the first games in 776 BC. With the loping stride that gave him 4 gold medals at Stockholm in 1924, the great distance runner, who is now 55 years old, completes the circle around the track and lights the flame that will burn through the 16 days of the game. A 21-gun salute booming from the hills behind the stadium gives the signal for raising the Olympic flag. Doves, a symbol of peace, are released to fly above the stadium. It is a solemn moment, this proud acceptance of a heritage handed down from one of the world's great civilizations. The 1952 Olympic Games are on.
First American sweep is in the 200-meter dash, oldest race in Olympic history. It's a crack field of national champions from many countries. But it's Andy Stanfield of Jersey City who forges ahead to break the tape in 20 7/10 seconds, equaling the Olympic record set by Jesse Owens in 1936. Second is Walter Baker of Elkhart, Kansas, with the bronze medal for third, going to an Air Force sprinter, Jim Gathers of Brooklyn and Sanson Air Force Base. The 200-meter was the only event in the first 13 Olympic competitions. It was a single length of the track at Old Olympia, a distance known as a stage, from which our word stadium is derived. Again, the Air Force is flying high in the 800-meter race. Here, Tech Sergeant Mal Whitfield of Lockburn Air Force Base, the 1948 winner, faces a tough field headed by Big Arthur Wint of Jamaica. That's Wint out in front now.
We'll be right back after the messages from our sponsors. The day just seems like it's never going to end. It's long, hard, strenuous, and then all of a sudden your tire goes flat or it pops. Well, no reason to worry. Hi, my name is Justin Feltz, and I'd like to endorse you and also encourage you to buy Goodyear tires. Goodyear tires are top of the line. They're gun proof. See these guns? Nothing. So get Goodyear tires today.